Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item is the moment of silence to be led by the Board Vice President.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in any other silent activity. Thank you.
The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by the Board Vice President.
Guess I'm doing a bunch of leading tonight. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Miss Kelly.
The next item on the agenda is the formal adoption of the agenda, and before we move to approve the general consent or the formal adoption of the agenda, I need to call to your attention item number 8 will need to be moved from the consent agenda to the business services area of the agenda to item number 61, which is just prior to adjournment. Again, item 8 would be moved off the consent to item number 61 under business services. Are there any other comments or anything else that you need to call to our attention? I would entertain a motion to formally adopt the agenda with that exception.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda with the noted changes.
Second.
We have a motion and second to formally adopt the agenda with the noted exceptions. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item under the minutes, we have the June 22nd regular board meeting minutes. I would entertain any questions or comments.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the June 22nd regular board meeting minutes. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item under employment, Dr. Mendenhall.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, I want to tonight bring you an item. Our Chief Information Officer was actually approved at our last meeting to actually add a position to our cabinet. And I'm happy to inform you that our own Brian Daly has been the one that we have selected and recommending tonight. Mr. Daly has been with us since 2009. He was hired as our Director of Technology at that point in time and has done a fabulous job. He has spent the last 5.5 years really moving us forward in the technology area and feel very comfortable with him in that role. I will talk to you a little bit more tonight about the overall changes in the administrative structure through the organizational structure, but this is one of the positions that will be a cabinet level position. The Chief Information Officer will coordinate all of the work in the technology, enrollment, the systems analysis, all of those things that we do with technology, if you really look at it, it's something that really touches every single area in our school district. So tonight, I wanted to bring to you Mr. Brian Daly forward as the Chief Information Officer for the school district.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to name as the Chief Information Officer, Mr. Brian Daly, with such employment subject to a mutually acceptable and fully executed written contract. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
You know, I failed to tell you a little bit about Mr. Daly. I'll have him stand, but I want to tell you a little bit about him too. He graduated from Friends University. Many people don't know where that's at. Friends is actually in the middle of Wichita, and it's a very prestigious school, very difficult to get into. And he has a bachelor's degree from there. And I have to mention this, he has a master's degree from the great state of Oklahoma, from the University of Oklahoma, and so is a big OU fan, and so we get along real well because of that. So wanted to mention that, and he's moved his family here. I think he's got some family. I thought I saw Danielle. Okay. If you'll go ahead and stand up and introduce her, and we'll welcome you here.
Hello, Brian. My better half, better looking half. Danielle. So I appreciate everything, and thank you for welcoming me.
Mr. Daly, I want to say very definitely since 2009, we've seen significant improvements in the area of technology and that it's doing for not only our business services in every area of our organization, but more importantly for our students and the opportunities that are going to be given to them. And obviously that's because it's 21st century learning that we're implementing within our school system. So thank you very much for all the work that you've done since 2009, and we look forward to continuing that work. The next item on the agenda are the comments from the public. Seeing that there aren't any, we'll move to the next item, which are the general consent agenda items 9 through make sure we have a long list here, 34. And again, that's with the exception of item number 8, which has been moved to 61.
Recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the general consent agenda items 9 through 34. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item on the agenda under Superintendent Board of Education Communications, Dr. Mendenhall.
Yes, members of the board, we have a need for moving a board meeting. I believe the October 12th regular board meeting, we're recommending that it be moved to October 19th. One of the things that's going on is during that time is there'll be three of us or 4 of us that will be actually on a retreat with the Chamber of Commerce and the city. So we do what's called a best practices seminar, and we actually go to different cities, and we have done that, participated in that for the last 4 or 5 years. So feel like it's important for us to be there. I think last month or the month before that, you approved for 2 members of the board to attend, as well as the superintendent will be there as well. So would like to put forward to you tonight that we move that date so that we all can be there and be able to attend.
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve changing the October 12th regular board meeting to October 19th, 2015. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item, Dr. Mendenhall.
Yes, this next item is a presentation and discussion of the administrative structure for the 15-16 school year. You might notice that every year that we actually redo, we evaluate and think through kind of what our structure is and what we can do to do better our structure. So this is really a time that every year at the beginning of the fiscal year that we evaluate. You might notice that a lot of it looks the same. There's not a whole lot of changes, but there are a few things. We still have Mr. Perry and Dr. Dunlop as our two assistant superintendents. Mr. Perry is over student services, and Dr. Dunlop is over instructional services. So that has stayed the same. A lot of our business functions, we have Mr. Thompson, our chief financial officer, HR, payroll, benefits, purchasing, and accounting is all under him. And then Miss Michelle Bergwall is our chief operations officer, and all the operational services are report up through her. The different or the change there is transportation is moved over under Miss Bergwall and will be under her. Shelley Holland Handy has been our chief communications officer, and that will stay maintained the same way. Communication services, district events, publications, social and web media, and video productions. The video productions we feel like will really take off this year, so that'll be quite an undertaking. And then the person that we just hired into our chief information officer will be all over the technology services. He'll have also not only district technology, but enrollment, network services, people accounting, and student data management. What I've tried to do is really go deeper into the organization and kind of give you some insight into each one of the divisions. For instance, in instructional services, I've tried to make sure that we have more of a vertical instead of a horizontal, a flat organization. Sometimes there's too many people reporting to one person. So what I've tried to do is have no more than 3 people reporting to a cabinet member. So you might look and see that, for instance, in instruction, we have 3 executive directors. We have a director or executive director of secondary, executive director of elementary, and executive director of academic programs. So those 3 will report up through Dr. Dunlop. Moving into student services underneath Mr. Chuck Perry, he will have 2 executive directors. One will be over co-curricular programs, which is Rusty Stecker, has been that last year. And then we've kind of changed the other half of Mr. Perry's area, and it's Executive Director of Student Services, and this will be Ms. Christian Wellborn. She will have child nutrition, student services, and district nurses. The next division is business services. Again, not much change. We have Natalie Enoff as our Executive Director of Finance, and then Ed Fager, which is over the HR department, that report up through him. The next one is operational services. Again, same thing. Michelle Bergwall is the Chief Operations Officer. You have Grant Moore moving into Executive Director of Facilities, so he'll have maintenance, operations, and warehouse. And then Mr. Blackburn will become the Executive Director of Support Services, which is a little bit different, but a lot of the same. He'll have a lot of the construction stuff and projects. He'll also have transportation and safety as well. So the next area, division, is communications. You see there that Mark Fry, Executive Director of Performing Arts Center in the Aerovision, he will be directing the TV media. And then Amanda Summers will be the Executive Director of Public Relations and really do a lot of the communications and community relations. She'll have staff that will report up through her, which will be nice as well. And then the last one is Mr. Daly, Chief Information Officer. He'll have quite a few, actually. He's got Ali Shahada, that is the Director of Network Services. Rebecca Whitaker, that's the student data manager, and then Jessica Swally is the director of enrollment. You might notice that we've got a couple of positions. We're really looking for a director of technology and project management to really help Mr. Daly, and we have that job posted right now, but we're taking our time to make sure that we research and find the right fit for the organization. So very excited about the changes. I feel like that even though it feels like every year we make quite a few, I think we get a little bit better and a little bit stronger as we continue to look at things and try to improve the organization. So I'll try to entertain or answer any of the questions that you might have, but wanted you to have this and be able to discuss it in open forum if there's any questions.
Dr. Mendenhall, I would certainly say to you that, in looking at this organizational chart and all the growth that we've seen over the last several years, the thing that is very, very, very important here is that we continue to change things to meet the needs of our students and to meet the needs of certainly those that we serve, which are our constituents and our patrons. I look at this, and as I look at the strategic plan, I also see a lot of the movement associated to meeting that strategic plan, which is critical and important to our organization as a whole. Any organization that stays constant, yes, typically we would like to get a little bit more stable, but usually when you have change, which education is a change agent, a change-oriented structure and business, and so anytime you have that, you're going to have significantly a lot of change in the organizational chart itself. So I do appreciate all of the thought that goes into restructuring and reorganizing to better meet the needs of our employees, our students, and certainly our patrons in the community. So I think that there are a number of moves here that you delineated very clearly that are going to meet certainly our students' needs a little bit more, and to our staff. So thank you.
Our intent is to have this online, so it will be on the website beginning tomorrow so that people, if they do have questions, will be able to look and see where things lie in each one of the divisions. So,
Dr. Mendenhall, from looking at your chart, though, it doesn't look like there's a lot of new people. It's just people serving in different capacities within your organization.
Mr. Allen, I'm glad you bring that up because we've moved a lot of people. It's really been more about the fits of people in certain positions rather than hiring in new people. We've done a really good job, I would say, the last couple of years of really training our own and growing them within our own organization. So very excited about that. A good example of that is Mr. Daly. I mean, he's been with us for 5.5 years, so it was perfect timing for him to be moved into a higher role, and it's been a good thing. So I appreciate that question, though.
And we did say, too, that we reduced the number of administrative staff over the prior year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe last year we had over 100 administrators. Now, you got to understand that includes all of our principals, assistant principals, which are about 55 members of them. And we've gone from 101 to 98 administrators, which we felt like this is a year that with so many things that are tightening up that we felt very strongly that we needed to look at that with a very keen eye and make sure that we're doing the right things. So we feel pretty good about that at this point.
Other questions or comments? Thank you. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is operational services. Mr. Brian Daly.
Good evening, President Kelly, members of the board, Dr. Mendenhall. I'm asking the board to vote on a motion to approve the purchase of an IBM server in the amount of $39,832.50 from the lowest responsible vendor, Two Trees Technologies, with payment from 2009 bond funds. This additional server is going to support applications including our new SunGuard application, our new Service Desk application, which will replace TMA for maintenance, plan ops, and technology, And we'll also provide additional space for other servers that have reached their capacity. It allows applications to be used in a virtual environment, which reduces the amount of physical servers housed in our data center. And then just quickly, because I always like to pass this information along, data centers have changed. The footprint of a data center has been reduced because of virtualization, which in layman's terms means we're not buying as many physical servers. When I came here, we had almost 150 physical servers. With the new technology since 2012, it's going back to what some of you are used to in the mainframe days, where you buy large servers and you're able to place virtual servers within them. So when you guys approve as a board a server for $40,000, and it seems like a pretty good chunk of change, what's actually taking place is the last two that we purchased, the first one we're able to house 22 servers within it, which saved the district $980,000 because they're virtualized. And then the board approved a second large server for about the same price in 2014, where we were able to place 28 virtual servers inside of it. So in the since 2012, to give you an idea, because we're able to virtualize, we've saved the district $1.7 million in server purchases because we're able to virtualize. So every couple of years when I come to the board asking for the purchase of one large $39,000, $40,000 server, it's in an effort to reduce costs and the footprint in our data center, but be able to house more virtually. So we're actually able to save quite a bit of money for the district.
Thank you for that information. Any questions?
Mr. Daly, I mean, not only does that save us money, but I mean, how does that kind of contribute positively to like our business continuity plan and things like that?
So what that allows us to do is, we get asked every day for new applications that come in. It allows us to not have to spend time waiting on building an additional server or purchasing one just for one application. We're able to spin up a virtual server in a matter of an hour or two, have it ready for the end user to start using. It allows us to do disaster recovery by backing up virtually. So if one goes down, we can have that application up in just a couple of minutes. So it's about cost effectiveness, efficiency, and reducing the footprint in the data center also saves the district on cooling and utilities and things like that. So we're able to perform a lot faster with the smaller staff that we have. So,
thank you.
Other questions?
Recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the purchase of an IBM server in the amount of $39,832.50 from the lowest responsible vendor, Two Trees Technologies of Wichita, Kansas, with the payment from the 2009 bond fund. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson? Yes. Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next
you.
item, Mr. Grant Moore.
Good evening. I'm seeking your approval for the purchase of a bucket truck for the maintenance department in the amount of $74,900 from Alltech Incorporated, with payment to come from the building fund. You may recall in April, I was seeking your approval to buy a bucket truck for $49,999. When that truck arrived, it had 124,000 extra miles on it and didn't pass inspection from our district mechanics, so we denied the purchase. And so we sent it back to Illinois, actually.
So you get what you pay for, is that what you're saying?
It's looking like it, because after that we couldn't find one less than 70,000.
So based on those numbers, this one will have around 70,000 miles on it then, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This one has right at, what, 99,000
It
miles?
says 97,812, I believe.
Okay.
Well, it'd be more than that when it gets here from Indiana, but it
Okay.
shouldn't get 124 extra thousand in between here and there.
And this is a need in maintenance, correct?
Yes, this is currently we have to use a lift to change light bulbs in parking lot lights. It requires a truck, a trailer, and 2 people. This would make it where one person could go and change light bulbs and do it in a timely manner and quickly.
Other questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the purchase of a bucket truck for the maintenance department from Alltech Inc. in the amount of $74,900 with payment from the building fund. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item.
Thank you. Number 39, I'm seeking your approval for agreement between Broken Arrow Public Schools and Mojack Distributors, LLC, to provide maintenance services for a clean O3 on-turf spray unit for the 2015-2016 school year at a total cost of $1,000 to be paid from the building fund. This is for a trailer that we could tow behind a small tractor to clean our athletic fields.
This is specifically for the turf.
It is, yeah, it's for artificial surfaces. And it's the unit recommended by Hellas, our installer for our turf fields.
Is this something different than we've done in the past?
In the exterior fields are usually cleaned well enough with sunlight and rain, but with the indoor facility, we're a little worried that it may grow some things that otherwise would be taken care of by sunlight.
All right, thank you. Other questions?
Recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the agreement between Broken Arrow Public Schools and Mojack Distributors, LLC, providing maintenance services for the Clean O3 on-turf sprayer unit for the 2015-16 school year. The total cost of the district is $1,000 and will be paid from the building fund. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item under instructional services, Ms. Shannon Turner.
Good afternoon, members of the board, President Kelly, Dr. Mendenhall. We come to you tonight and ask that you approve the purchase of school supply kits from the lowest bid of Blue Source for 1,960 JOM student school supply kits for the total cost of $37,938.44.
Okay. Questions?
Do we sell these? Is that what we do? Or
No,
is this for
they're
the classrooms?
It's for each child, and they that qualifies for the Johnson O'Malley,
Okay.
and they're given to them. And
Okay.
we right now we have on our roster 1,960 kids, but we will exceed that.
Other questions?
Recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the purchase of school supply kits from the lowest bidder, Blue Source, for 1,960 JOM student school supply kits for a total cost of $37,938.44. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
We would ask that you approve the purchase of a 2015 Ford F-250 for the VOAG program from Bob Moore Ford in the amount of $30,000, $993, and this is the lowest bid for this vehicle with everything that we needed on it for the VOAG.
And how long is it, or is this just an addition, or is this a
No,
replacement?
This is a replacement of a truck that was wrecked,
Thank
I
you.
believe. So,
Other questions?
correct.
Make a
Recommend
motion.
approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the purchase of a 2015 Ford F-250 for the VOAG program from Bob Moore Ford for $30,993. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
We would ask that you approve a new agreement between Broken Arrow Public Schools and the Tulsa Tech Aerospace Academy. The total cost of the district will be $2,400 per student accepted into the program and will be paid through general funds. As of right now, I honestly can't tell you how many we have enrolled. We have 10 spots held for our districts, and the one that we don't use we'll send back to the academy. I think right now we're probably just looking at somewhere between 1 and 5.
Is this typical with other school districts as it relates to
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Thank
All
you.
of the other school districts are doing the same
doing the
thing.
same thing? Thank you. Other questions?
Did we have students in this program last year?
No, sir. This is a brand new
Okay.
program that just is really getting off the ground and is going to be a situation where the kids will go there all day long at the Riverside campus, but they will receive a Broken Arrow High School diploma.
All right. Recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the new agreement between Broken Arrow Public Schools and Tulsa Tech Aerospace Academy. Total cost of the district will be $2,400 per student. Accepted into the program will be paid from the general funds. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item, Mr. Chuck Perry.
Good evening. I'm bringing you information about a company called School Live who sells, actually provides large digital kiosks. They're kind of like large iPhones, 6 feet tall, and students go and get information off of those. They interact with them, and I think it will really improve the communication on campus. They do have advertising on them that's nationally. We have the right of first refusal on the advertising, and it's no cost to the district, and I think it'll be a positive thing.
Okay. Are there questions?
So, Mr. Perry, this is just to share information on campuses?
Yes, stuff like daily announcements. You could put school activities on there that's upcoming. You can have video from a ball game this past week. Students can go up there and order pictures from a dance that Mr. Jadamski or a Aloha Bash. They can go interact with it, and they're really taking off across the country. We talked to, they're out of California, and we talked to them. Mr. Thompson found them at the National Convention, and Miami-Dade School District is putting them in. A school district in Indiana. We have a few smaller ones in Oklahoma, but we talked about TVs going around the high school campus as far as providing information, but we felt these kiosks, again, they're like a giant iPhone, about 6 foot tall, and we will have to provide the electrical and wiring to those to provide internet access, because that's how you download the information. But it's something that it's new. The person that invented them was actually a school activities person and wanted to find a better way to communicate with the students. We're looking at 15 of them, 10 at the high school and 5 at the freshman academy. And we will see kind of a trial with those sites, and if they do well, we may expand them across the district in other schools. Also wanted to say they are revenue generating with the ads that they have on them. Again, things like Skechers and maybe Gatorade or Powerade. It's about $100 to $400 per year that these generate some revenue off of. So we would receive checks quarterly for them. So I'm excited about them, and I hope that they, again, are able to pull our high school in a little bit more and provide more information to our students as they walk the halls. We'll probably spread them out in the different buildings, put one in the main grand lobby, cafeteria, student union, and again, students can walk up to them, and the picture quality is exceptional. I mean, it's like a high-resolution TV.
It sounds exciting,
Mhm.
actually.
Yes, but there's no cost to the district.
Okay. Other questions?
I would just like to say, I mean, I think that's exciting that we are looking at, you know, in today's time, it's so different when Dr. Mendenhall went to school.
Right.
But I think it's really a great way for us to be able to look at new ways of getting information in our students' hands. Because, you know, that's all they get all day long is get that media information, and just finding new channels to make certain that they have an opportunity to get it is good.
Good. Dr. Mendenhall must not be feeling well, because when I said they're 6 foot tall, I thought he was going to make a comment that they're larger than I am, taller than I am, but he did not do it, so must not be feeling
He's
well.
living under the weather.
Mhm.
He's been asked to keep it to a minimum so he doesn't get us contagious. Mr. Perry, will these be in by next school year?
Once this contract is approved, we will go on a waiting list, and they come in and install them. Honestly, it will probably be later on this fall after school starts to get in the queue. We just need to get this approved and get in the rotation of doing that. Ms. Bergwall and I have a meeting later on this week, and we'll be walking the campuses and looking for places to place them.
Okay. Good information. Any other questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the agreement between Broken Arrow Public Schools and School Live LLC, a media placement and management services company, which will provide a digital interactive kiosk system and software for the promotion of scheduled school events. There is no cost to the district. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item, Ms. Luann Goodacre.
Good evening. My first item tonight, I'd like your approval to accept a grant from Midwest Dairy Council in the amount of $17,198. And this is to purchase commercial blenders for our elementary schools so we can provide them with breakfast smoothies.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the grant application and receipt of funds for the child nutrition from Midwest Dairy Council in the amount of $17,198. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
I'm asking your approval tonight to approve Autochlor Services, LLC, for our chemical sanitation in our district kitchens. This bid was sent out by the Director of Purchasing, and we would like to accept Autochlor's bid. They've serviced our kitchens for several years. They do all our training, our safety training. Our employees do not have to handle any of the chemicals. They're dispensed into bottles or into a sink without them having to measure or touch. And so we'd like for your approval.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the Autochlor Services LLC to provide chemical sanitation and warewashing to all district kitchens in the amount of $65,000 to be paid in 10 equal monthly installments of $6,500. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
My last item tonight is for you to approve, excuse me, Mazio's LLC to provide pizza for our secondary sites daily and our elementary sites weekly and our pre-K sites weekly. We sent out 3 bids. Mazio's came in the lowest bid at $4.93 a pizza. This is only for child nutrition use. The approximate cost for the year is around $300,000.
I was kind of interested to see the price variation between
Yes.
several. So, yeah, it was very interesting. Any other questions?
So if we call in, can we get the same deal?
No.
Recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the Mazio LLC to provide pizza daily to all secondary sites and weekly to all elementary and pre-K sites. The cost estimate for the year is $300,000. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item, Mr. Derek Blackburn.
I can eat them all day.
Good evening. I don't know about you, I'm hungry.
Pizzas.
Got 2 items for you tonight in regards to transportation and vehicles for the district. The first item being seeking your approval for the bid submitted by Summit Bus to furnish 8 77-passenger conventional buses and 1 28-passenger special education bus for the price of $817,362. And a bid submitted by Masters Transportation for 2 14-passenger activity buses for $119,998. It's important to note that the passenger buses for the 14 do not require a CDL, but yet they are much safer than a Suburban, and will also support our students that are smaller in athletics, and will not have to take 4 or 5 Suburbans to a place where they can use these instead of a large 77-passenger activity bus.
Is that similar to the white vehicle that we take to the graduation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
These will be wrapped just like the other activity vehicles that we have, and like I said, they're going to be much safer than what we
Okay.
currently have.
Thank you. Other questions?
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the bid submitted by Summit Bus to furnish 8 77-passenger conventional buses and 1 28-passenger Type C special education bus for $817,362, and the bid submitted by Masters Transportation for 2 14-passenger activity buses for $119,998. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
Yes, seeking your approval on the purchase of 3 2016 Expedition 4x4s and 3 2016 Ford Transit 250 high roof cargo vans from Bobmore Ford for a total cost of $184,458. The Suburbans are going to be replenishing the current Suburbans that we have that we're trying to roll out. Also, the idea behind the four-wheel drive vehicles is that once we hit a certain mile marker on those vehicles, we will actually be smarter and use those vehicles to go to maintenance that require 4x4 vehicles.
Any questions? I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the purchase of 3 2016 Expedition XL 4x4s and 3 2016 Ford Transit 250 high roof cargo vans from Bobmore Ford for a total cost of $184,458. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item under Business Services, Ms. Natalie Ena.
Good evening. We've reached the end of our fiscal year, and these are our numbers through the end of June 30th. General fund revenue, our state aid came in exactly as our midterm adjustment figure was released to us at $46.9 million, so we received that allocation in full, which is always a good thing. Just for your information, our initial allocation for fiscal year 16 came in at $46.5 million, but as always, we anticipate an adjustment in January from that allocation off our official October 1 count. Some of the other preliminary allocations that we've received from the State Department for this year is our textbook allocation at $880,000 and professional development at $114,000. We do anticipate receiving our FBA flex allocation any day now, but so far that has not been released from the State Department. Ad valorem and our state sources came in as projected, and our federal sources dropped just a little bit, but remember we did receive some federal sources from our cooperative Fund 12 grants, so you don't see that reimbursement reflected in these figures. Building fund, our ad valorem obviously came in as we projected and is our main source of revenue. These funds really carry us through until we get our big tax collection payment in January. So this is really what we're using to start off our fiscal year 16 with this cash flow carrying over from a previous fiscal year. Child nutrition, again, we exceeded all 3 areas of collection from where we were last year, which was a good thing. More students, more kids to feed, but you'll see the offset expenditures in a few moments. General fund expenditures, salaries and benefits eat up the majority of this fund. Our professional development in the 500 series came in just about what we were spending from previous year. Again, we do receive some resources from the State Department to help offset those expenditures. Building fund, really the only areas that we had a little bit of difference from last year's in some of our supplies and purchase property services. We are not utilizing bond funds except for our annual allocations in instruction and athletics and fine arts. So we are having to utilize building fund a little more closely until our next bond fund kicks in. And it's very important that we monitor these funds since we do have such a small cash flow in this fund. Child nutrition, obviously the biggest expense besides payroll is our food and supply and paper expense in the 600 series, and then they also pay for their own workers' comp expenditures, which is transferred to our self-insured fund. And we are fully expecting and projecting to be at the 14% ending fund balance rate. Right now we are still in the midst of closing POs and getting things cleaned up from June 30th, but that is where we expect to end up.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you. You could move to the next item.
My next item is I'd like to ask the board to approve a new agreement between the district and PayPal. There is no cost to the district for this. The reason we are setting this up is the Freshman Academy in their initiative to start the one-to-one program. When the students and parents check out the iPads at scheduled pickup, we would like to be able to offer them the optional insurance to accept and to facilitate this using PayPal to pay with credit cards if they so choose to accept the insurance.
I want to thank the Business Services Division for doing this for our patrons, because I think this is going to be extremely helpful for them when they come in on enrollment and having to navigate all of the things they navigate. But this is going to be very, very helpful, and certainly I think it's going to benefit them significantly, so thank you.
Well, and I'd just like to say that Donna Dollahan, our treasurer, has really been the person doing all the research and legwork behind this. I'm just filling in for her tonight.
And that's great, but I certainly want to extend that thank you. Yes. Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the agreement between Broken Arrow Public Schools and PayPal. There is no cost to the district. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item.
My next item is the treasurer's reports as of June 30th, 2015. The cash balances report reflects a total of $67,742,000 in assets. The investment ledger shows total district investments of $51,590,000. The fund security and deposit reports show a total of $75,401,000 in collateral pledged to Broken Arrow Public Schools. Total deposits requiring collateral are $47,890,000, leaving an available balance of collateral in the amount of $27,511,000.
Any questions or comments? Thank you. Go ahead and move on.
The next item is the activity funds reports as of the end of June. In activity funds, receipts total $6,256,000. Disbursements total $6,411,000 with an ending cash balance of $1,848,000.
Questions on this? Thank you. Go ahead and move on.
My next item is I would like to ask the board to approve a change in our bank accounts. We have been in contact with First National Bank, which currently holds our sinking fund, to move that to our main bank, which is Bank of Oklahoma. Currently, the sinking fund and all bonds, gifts, and endowment funds are located at First National. But because of the large size of our sinking fund and the many transactions that go on, especially when we sell bonds, it would be more efficient to move this fund to Bank of Oklahoma. First National Bank really, their niche is to be a small bank, and Sometimes having an account of this magnitude creates problems on their end with federal regulations and having to come up with the collateral needed to pledge our large account. And so this is really going to be a positive thing for them and for the district. Greg Graham, the president of the bank, was contacted about this move and is in agreement that this change would be positive on their end as well.
Any questions? I would entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the proposal to move the sinking fund from the First National Bank of Broken Arrow to Bank of Oklahoma. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Next item is Mr. Ed Fager.
Good evening, Mrs. Kelly, Dr. Mendenhall, members of the board. Tonight, I'm bringing you an item number 54 is an update to policy 1250, which is our equal opportunity non-discrimination statement. This policy is being revised to reflect the adoption of a new non-discrimination statement that's been provided to the district by our legal counsel. It actually represents the results of some lengthy negotiations they've had with the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights to develop a new statement that is acceptable to OCR's updated requirements. I also provided you a list of some definitions to help in the understanding of the various protected categories that have been added to the new statement.
Mr. Fager.
Tonight is a first reading. So.
Thank you. I just had a quick question. Do you expect any other changes in this? This has obviously been going through legal counsel, so you don't expect any other changes, do you?
I do not.
Okay. Any other questions? This is a first read. Thank you.
Okay.
Next item, Mr. Lance Crawley.
Ms. Kelly, Dr. Mendenhall, members of the board, good evening. Bring you tonight for a first reading, updates to Policy 3140, Promotion and Graduation Requirements. This is for information, for no other action. The policy is being revised to clarify the number of units required for graduation in light of guidance received from the district's regional accreditation officer and the Oklahoma State Department of Education regarding the use of embedded or integrated instruction in meeting the fine arts set of competencies in the state-approved graduation curriculum. The revision has been sent to legal counsel for review.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Dwayne Thompson.
Okay, filling in for Kathy tonight. So the first one is the encumbrance report for 14-15. Basically, this is the last few purchase orders that came in after the June 22nd board meeting that needed to be encumbered to close out the fiscal year. So I'd answer any questions you have that. The total is $303,238.02.
Questions? If there are none, I would entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the encumbrance reports for all funds for the 2014-15 fiscal year. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
Next item are the change orders for 14-15 to date. So that would be a decrease of $2.6 million. You have the number there. Basically, most of that is out of the bond fund. We'll close a PO and then reopen it in the new year in the same bond fund, but we'll get it out of the old fiscal year. So that's the majority of the reduction in change orders that you see there. I'd answer any questions that you have.
So we are going to see those expenditures move forward into the next fiscal year.
Right. When you see the next item, it's
okay.
Adding encumbrances of $5 million. So.
All right. Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the change order reports for general fund, cooperative fund, building fund, workers' compensation, bond funds, gift funds, and child nutrition fund for the 2014-15 fiscal year. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
Okay, the next item are the encumbrances for 15-16, which totaled the $5.2 million that we had some encumbrances last board meeting. This is a lot of the ones that we had just previously reduced and now are in the new year, as well as some others that were added since the last time we met.
Okay. If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the encumbrance reports for all funds for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
And item number 59 is for the change orders for 15-16. There was a small reduction in the building fund of $1,000 from the purchase orders that you approved on the June 22nd meeting.
If there are questions, certainly we'd entertain them. If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the change order reports for the general fund, cooperative fund, building fund, workers' compensation, bond funds, skip funds, and child nutrition fund for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. Next item.
So the next item I have is for your consideration about the proposed salary schedules. You have those attached. That would be both for, there's three of those. There's administration, the 12-month non-administration, and then there's the support salary schedules. You have those for your consideration. Basically, the way the process works is over the summer, as you're well aware, we have the negotiations with the Teachers Association to reach an agreement both on language and compensation. We have done that, and that has went very well and was successful, and you've heard those reports. So we take that average increase that the step for the teachers, which is what we've agreed to at this point, is about 1.5%. Obviously, an average is just that. Some are getting higher than 1%, some are less, but the average is 1.5%. So we take that information and then begin to incorporate that into the other schedules for your consideration. So if you look at the steps for the support, for instance, each one of those increments is 1.5%. For the support staff, there are no steps for the administration, so that scale itself changes 1.5%. So wherever they were on the categories, that's where they would continue to be. The one change that we did have for this year for and you're aware of this, for the administrative, last year we had the senior executives, and that category has gone away, and those individuals have been then incorporated into either the executive director or just the director one, but none of them received less money. It was just a title change per se to account for that. So when you look at the individual amounts, for the administrative and non-administrative, the total would be $154,000, which would come out of the general fund. For the support staff would be $210,000 out of the general fund and $45,000 out of child nutrition. So as we've done in the past, basically we've utilized the increase, and when I say increase, the step increase that the board has authorized me to negotiate. We've done that. That average is about 1.5%. So as we've done in the past, we've changed the scale or added a step for the 1.5%. This includes everyone that was here for over half the year. They would receive the step, and so basically we're carrying on what we've done in the past, or at least over the last 5 years that we've been here. So I would entertain any questions that you have. The one other thing that I would also point out is 2 years ago, I believe, we did the total adjustment review for transportation, and we had several individuals that needed to move steps. HR has done that as well for child nutrition, and so with the approval of this, those individuals will be put onto the proper step as according to the audit that was completed.
Okay. Any questions?
And then one last thing before you vote, if I could, just as you know, when the teachers come back, they report back, they will have a election and vote to ratify. And so they will have basically there's a number of days that they will have that, but once they're back in school, they will have, and they would do that electronically. So they will have a vote. Once they've ratified, then we will bring that item to the board, next board meeting. Generally that's September, depending on timing, it may be October, but it'll be that time frame. But generally it's September. You will then accept that ratification, and then that new agreement will be put into place.
Other questions? Any? I would entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second.
Have a motion and second to approve the proposed salary scales and resulting increases for administrative staff, 12-month non-administrative staff, and support staff for the 2015-16 fiscal year. The total increase is $409,000. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. All right. The next item, 61.
Good evening. The last item I have tonight is to request your approval for the activity fund guidelines. You have them before you. There are two changes that need to be noted. Under Creekwood, account number 938, which is the teacher staff activity account, there needs to be a line item under the revenue stating for the vending account machines for the revenue line item. And for Spring Creek, in their 892 general account, under the expense line item, the word donation is used, but it should read charitable donations. And this is for like when they have Relay for Life, Jump for Hearts, so we can, the district can in turn cut a check to those charitable organizations.
Okay. Are there any questions? I would entertain a motion.
Recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the changes to the activity fund guidelines as stated. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes. The next item is new business. Seeing that we do not have any, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.